Gang Hang. Good morning. My name is Matt Baum. I'm one half of the Two-Headed Nerd, and the other half's here too.
Hi, I'm the Internet's Joe Patrick.
And we have a show. It's called the Two-Headed Nerd Comic Book Podcast. We talk about new comics. We talk about old comics. We do it on the internets. We also have a gang hang on Saturday mornings with the gang. And the gang is here. Now, we've been doing a lot of talking.
Wait. The gang is here, but are they ready to hang?
Well, I mean, if they're here, they're hanging. It's not like, you know.
I'm already hanging.
Yeah, the act of hanging is passive. You know, that's you're just here and you hang. So, yeah, it's like a sea cucumber, right? They just do their thing. But we've been talking a lot about movies and TV on this show. And last time we were like, screw this. Let's talk about comics. I want to talk about comics today. You guys want to talk about comics?
Yeah, I got a lot of complaints.
I got a lot of complaints.
I do not have complaints. I read some awesome comics that are not Marvel.
Brian Domingos, the Frank Costanza of comic books.
Let's start with something positive. JD, you read some good stuff, and then we'll get into the airing of grievances. Are we okay? Does that sound cool?
Yes. So I read 3 comics on Hoopla this last week. I read what did I read? I read Hunger in the Dusk, Volume 1.
I don't know what that is.
No, is that the Chip Zdarsky one?
No,
it's G. Willow Wilson.
G. Willow Wilson. Okay, yeah. Well, you know what? 50-50 shot. I flipped the coin and picked it. We did the first issue of that, and it was good.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
it's the one about the humans and the orcs having a tentative pact that to take out these like weird like drow orcs or drow evil elven things.
I think drow is probably the right
really
word.
Good
they were
high
kinda,
fantasy.
Yeah, they were kind of horned looking things. Yeah, it was like an enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. And I do remember this.
Yeah.
Chris Wildgoose. I remember his last name because it's rad and he's awesome. His art is fantastic.
I loved the subversion of like humanizing the orcs, like making the orcs like sympathetic and not immediately the bad guys. Yeah. I loved that. That was so cool.
That's always a cool trope. That was one thing I liked about like
any
World of Warcraft. Any
good fantasy story will do that, where the one that people are racist against are actually not so bad, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, when you're not telling like a human-centric
story.
The
ones that look evil, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's all what I always loved about like World of Warcraft. You could play the orcs and they were like a functioning society and they had like these like big sort of like jungle tree house like castles and stuff. It was cool, you know? I really liked it.
Yeah.
No, those were the druids. The orcs lived in Thunder Bluff with the it was like in a canyon.
Thunder Bluff was the cow people, wasn't it? Wasn't that like the
I never played.
Thunder Bluff was like the cow people druids, wasn't it?
No, the druids lived in the big treehouse thing. The orcs lived in that big it looked very tribal. It was like carved out of a mountain.
Yeah.
Matt is talking about the druid Torrens, and yes,
the Torrens. Yeah,
they lived on the Thunder Bluff.
They lived on Thunder Bluff. Yeah, the orcs lived in Orgrimmar. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But back to
the other fantasy-related book that I read that I just really loved was Helen of Windhorn.
That book.
That was that book. Oh yeah, there's so much about that book that was so good. The way it was written, it had an old school Vertigo feel.
Definitely.
Without feeling icky about the writer. And it just I don't know. There was just a nostalgic feel to something completely new. And then yesterday I just borrowed and read the first issue of Assorted Time Crisis. Assorted Crisis Events.
Assorted Crisis Events. Yes.
And I've been listening to interviews with Dennis Camp on Sketched, the Sketched podcast, which is. Yeah, so off panel, that's what it is. Yeah, and he's interesting. He's an interesting guy, and I like how long it's taken him to come to bring this book into fruition.
Was it so? I had surmised when we were talking about it that it felt like an exercise in writing, where he was just taking all these ideas that he couldn't use anywhere else and said, I'm going to make these into one book. Just like, bam, I challenge me.
No, he's had this idea for a while now, the idea of like just kind of doing a book. It started out as being a book about comics, and that's why, like all of the crisis events and like all of that. And then he says, when the pandemic came around, then it kind of became a thing about like, it's always one goddamn thing after another.
Yeah.
And the fact that we are kind of living through assorted crisis events right now. So he kind of merged the two into this idea. And the other reason why it took him so long is because he had this one artist, I can't remember his name, starts with a Z, I think, that he really wanted to do the book with because of all the artists that he's worked with. Zendaya. Zendaya.
Yeah, I think it was Zendaya.
This guy has a very analytical and mechanical style, and he can really mess with he can use the form of comics to tell the story. So a lot of the stuff where like the panels are sliding off the page and stuff like that, that's him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That book was crazy. It looked so good. And the story really does just like bleeds off of the page out of control and then like falls apart in panels where it's like the coloring just slowly fades, where it's just like, there's so much chaos that you can't see it. Like your brain shut it off, right? Like when you turn on the news and they're like, we're getting rid of the Department of Education. You're like, I can't even understand what that means. Yay. All right.
Yeah.
That book is excellent though. I really like it.
Yeah. I had to get rewire my brain with some like non-Big Two comics because I like steeped myself in X-Men for that piece I wrote, that I was like, okay, I gotta shift gears because no, I hear you. Back
to Helen of Windhorn real quick. Is that a Berger book? Mm-hmm. Is she still the editor of that?
No, I don't think it's a Berger book.
That's not.
It's Dark Horse. I know it's Dark Horse. I don't know if it's Berger.
Okay. They're just doing so much stuff right now that's kind of creator owned that feels so Vertigo to me. And oh man. And like all of it, I don't think we've reviewed one that we were down on recently. I feel like Dark Horse has had a ton of hits recently and they're just pumping them out and I love it.
Yeah. And I remember, what was it? Like, not even a couple of years ago, we were worried about Dark Horse.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you guys saying, is Dark Horse going to survive? Are they okay?
Well, they lost Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They lost Buffy. They lost like all their major licensed stuff. They lost, Star Wars, Predator, that all went away. And we were like,
TMNT was never them, but yeah, they did.
Oh no, you're right. TMNT wasn't them.
The thing that's interesting about Helen of Windhorn is I heard someone else talking about the fact that DC doesn't have a Vertigo, or doesn't have a Vertigo as we recognize it anymore, is why these books are going to Dark Horse, because this is the creative team from Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when they finished Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, they should have just done this at Vertigo and stayed with DC, but DC's too stupid to keep them, so they didn't have a place for it. So they said, "Okay, I'll go do my own thing," and I don't have to pay Warner.
Well, didn't
I don't
DC
have to pay Warner dividends on the book
last year at like San Diego Comic-Con? It wasn't DC
Vertigo's coming back, baby.
They're like Vertigo, and everybody went, "Yay!"
Is it going to be the same thing, or is it just going to be another label that's going to be Black Label adjacent?
Well, it's
going to be creator. It's supposed to be creator owned books, which is why all of the Nice House, all of the Tinian stuff that he did for Black Label is going to move over there.
Yes, some of these books are in the works for years. It's not like they just announced it. And so when they kicked off the announcement for Vertigo, which was, they had to, that was a Warner Brothers decision. It wasn't a DC decision.
Oh, really?
And whoever, that's the thing. It's not like DC was like, we don't need it. Whoever was in charge of
to shit can it. Yeah.
That makes
sense. Jim Lee's bosses at Warner Brothers didn't understand why even because they obviously can't read the balance sheet and see where the money's coming from, but they didn't understand the value of Vertigo. So that's why they changed it to Black Label and all that stuff. Like, they didn't want to get rid of it. Like, it's a cash cow, and it's also a prestige. It's just like, look at HBO, right? Like, HBO still exists in our, Gen X hearts and minds, but it's like Max. Like, when I'm looking for the HBO app, I can't find it.
Well, it's like, HBO on Max, the place you go for HBO, right? I mean, well, that was like a real ad.
This beautiful, successful brand has been killed by these people that don't understand how anything works, and So Vertigo's coming back, and there will be books like this in the future.
Yeah, right. Because I think that the revenue stream or the value of something like Vertigo to a publishing company isn't so much in the revenue it generates, but it's as much the revenue it generates as it is creator retention. Giving these creators other places to produce books and keep them in your stable versus having them go elsewhere.
Well, there's also book sales though too. I mean, like, their graphic novels, they were selling the hell out of those because they could get them into bookstores. Yeah. And like, bookstores would be like, we don't even know what Superman graphic novel to order because there's 200,000 of them. But here's this DC adult story that's pumped up by a name that is a well-known person, and they go, yeah, sure. And it flies off the shelves, for adults anyway. Yeah. But that's a whole different problem.
So Burger Books has transitioned to doing more like original graphic novels. So they don't really do floppies anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, they do put out OGNs, and they also do graphic or trade reprints. They manage the reprints of creator-owned stuff that came out previously, like She Could Fly, which was Christopher Cantwell. G. Willow Wilson's Air, which ironically was a Vertigo book.
Yeah, go figure.
Burger Books still kicking. They're just doing graphic novels now.
Do we want... Okay, Return of Vertigo. Let's talk about that real quick. Do we want things like Hellblazer and Swamp Thing to go back to Vertigo? And
never going to happen.
And just stay out of our DCU. Whether it's going to happen or not, do we want that? I kind of do. I don't need John Constantine in my regular
Constantine,
DCU.
Yes. Swamp Thing, I think, can exist in both.
I don't disagree. I think Swamp Thing is super enough that you're right. You can do versions of them both, but yeah, I don't need John Constantine in my DCU.
Swamp Thing was a DC character. He teamed up with other characters all the time.
Right.
Well, I mean, not all the time, but it
happened plenty
having
of times.
Having him in the DCU makes sense. Having Constantine in the DCU is a detriment to that character.
Yeah. And I can't see like Wonder Woman being in the same room as John Constantine. I would think she'd be like, get that disgusting monster out of here.
It's funny because she was on the Justice League Dark with him.
I know, which I never bought.
Well, the other thing is I don't understand what function he plays in the DCU. It's not like he does something that someone else can't. You can't pull in Dr. Fate. You can't pull in Zatanna.
Yeah.
You have plenty of other magic characters that can do the same thing. I don't think you have the same. I mean, when you have Animal Man, you need Swamp Thing.
Yes. And like what can when you have Zatanna, for example, or pretty much literally any other magic user we know of in the DCU, what good is a guy that can do a grosser, shittier version?
Yeah. I mean,
the thing about John is that he can't just wave his hands like Doctor Strange and make a thing happen.
Right. Yeah.
He can't say some magic words and make a thing happen. Every time John actually used magic, it was awful.
Right. Terrible shit happened. Price had to be paid, and it was real world. It just doesn't work in the DCU where there's this much fantasy. And like you're saying, you've got characters that just do magic and make that's not what Hellblazer's world was like. There were other people
John
did
works best in a world where you can look at everything he does and go, was that magic?
Right. Or
kind of right.
Yeah. Or he's going to get in trouble for that. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Like Constantine stories where it's weird to kind of say this to put it this way, but like if a Constantine story can't somehow involve him drawing an arcane symbol on the ground or on a wall or on a body on a corpse in like filth and bile, like then what's the point of Constantine? Right. Hellblazer is supposed to be gross.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The DC universe is not exactly gross. It just isn't. So
no. Yeah. I mean, it depends. It depends on how you look at it.
The plausible deniability of John's magic, and this is a really weird reference because it was a horrible show, but the opening credits to that really bad Matt Ryan version of Constantine that we had for a hot minute did one thing really well, because the end of those opening credits have him standing there with his hands on fire. And if you look closely right before that, he's taking apart his Zippo lighter and he's wiping the lighter fluid on his hands.
So it's a trick.
It's a trick. Yeah, he's literally doing a stage trick in that moment. And that, to me, that is Constantine. He's going to look like a badass, but it's all tomfoolery and it's all chicanery until it's not. Right. And then when it's not, it's horrifying and he's probably going to pay for it.
Which is funny because Zatanna is exactly the opposite. She gets on stage and pretends to do old timey magic, but she's actually magic, which is kind of bullshit. Yeah. Right? It's kind of,
it's the idea of hiding in plain sight.
I guess.
And that's working on it. And the thing about that is it's the whole idea. It doesn't work for Zatanna as well because it's supposed to be in this world where you're supposed to hide magic.
Right.
So she's supposed to be like playing down how powerful she is, but everyone knows she's just batshit powerful.
She's also
part of the Justice for the outfit.
She's part of the Justice League.
I don't think Zatanna is hiding. I think everybody I think the general public understands that Zatanna is a being with superpowers because she's in the Justice League.
Yeah.
Then why the fuck go watch her pull something out of a hat?
That's what I'm saying.
But if you read the last Zatanna #1, she's not just doing stage magic. She's doing some pretty crazy stuff on stage. She's not doing the stuff. I don't think she's doing the kind of stuff that's gonna like break people's worldviews or anything, that's going to make them question their place in the universe. But I think she's doing,
there is no God.
A lot more than like pulling a rabbits out of hats or sawing dudes in half.
Yeah.
And that new Zatanna series is very good. And I don't even particularly like that character. Just due to the fact that she has like this kind of like Scarlet Witch powers where it's like, she can do whatever the hell she wants as long as she says something backwards. Like, I need a little more than that, Is that magic? I don't know. I'm sure, whatever. But the book is very, very good, and it is beautiful. The art is incredible in that book. Oh,
all right. We kind of steamrolled over JD. Did you have another? Was there another one, JD?
No, that was it. There's just those three. But the first two I read the full trade, and they were quite good. I was quite happy with them.
Let's get to the airing of grievances, Brian. You've got problems. Let's hear about it. Brian? There he is.
It's annoyances of work to the all-in DC.
You're breaking up a little bit, Brian. I think we may have to try Brian again later. Brian, work on your connection. You're breaking up. One thing that I wanted to get into is the new Hickman thing that's coming to Marvel that's going to
Imperial?
Yes, revolutionize Marvel's galactic canon. And I love Hickman and I love what he does. And I was like, yeah, right on. And then I was like, Scar is in this? Oh.
But yeah, the Hulk, like it says specifically the Hulks.
Right.
Because like She-Hulk is in it too. And Bruce.
Yeah.
What? And it's like,
and they're wearing Planet Hulk stuff. Like they are fully
wearing Planet Hulk Gladiator stuff. Yeah.
Full on Planet Hulk. So I
mean, there's a precedent for it, but
sure.
I just don't really need the Hulks in the cosmic universe part of things. But we'll see what he does, right? Like if anyone has earned a little bit of leeway, it's Hickman.
No,
I'm not gonna like knee jerk and go the Scar dumb.
Well, no, I'm not just saying that, but like I'm saying more of, okay, how do we get back to this Planet Hulk setup this fast, where Hulk is running things on Scar and Scar is there and Jen is dressed.
No.
Like,
Scar is the character name, not the planet name.
Yeah, no, Sakaar. I'm sorry.
The planet is Sakaar. Yeah,
Sakaar. Yeah.
Which is too close, you guys. Come on.
Yeah,
it is. But I don't know that. Okay, we don't know anything about it yet. All we know is that we saw some character designs. So I don't know that if it's going to be a Planet Hulk situation. We only know that they're dressed like it's a Planet Hulk situation.
I get. Well, yeah. I mean, if it's not, then that's quite the coincidence. But they are going to do something with the Black Panther stuff, which is rad. And I think they need to. You can't just set up that like the Wakandans went into space and set up a whole society, and it only happened in the Black Panther book, and we might mention it every once in a while. And more importantly, the Nova Corps is coming back. That's fun. Or something with the Novas. Maybe he's killing them all. I don't know. But
yeah. I mean, Rich Rider is in it.
Yeah.
Star-Lord, they mentioned Star-Lord as well. So yeah, I'm always excited for a new Hickman grand opus. Like the last cosmic thing he did was Infinity, and I really loved Infinity.
Yeah, Infinity was great.
Gods.
Infinity was great.
Oh, well, JD, please, JD, we're trying to be serious here.
Yeah, that was my next joke. Was like, well, he just got done revolutionizing magic in the Marvel universe, and
I liked Gods.
I don't
know what you're laughing about.
There were 4 or 5 people that read it and did.
To be fair, I didn't read past the first couple. It's just it's interesting that he did a book that literally nobody referenced.
Yeah.
Like the main guy that kind of looks like Doctor Strange, but isn't Doctor Strange, popped up in the background here and there a few times, but nobody talks about gods, except in the past tense, like you. And I'd like to sit down and read it because I want to give it a chance.
The thing is I wonder if, and that's the thing, and I only bring up gods because I wonder if this will be the same thing. I wonder if Imperial will be another thing that's like so tangential that they'll just like, I'm wondering if Hickman is the new Claremont, where they're just going to give him his corner.
No,
say,
I don't think it's
John,
like
do your thing. Stay over there.
I think it's tougher when you're doing,
and then we're going to keep doing our thing, and we're going to keep the universe going.
I think when he does a book like Gods, it's a lot harder because it is so Earth and human centric, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I guess Doctor Strange isn't very powerful at all. There's this whole other group of like people that are way more, and it just. Fine.
Well, I mean, Gods wasn't about magic per se. It was literally about the deities, the cosmic deities.
Well,
like the
it was
elder
literally about
stuff, right?
how magic and science work together. It was about
Eternity, Tribunal, and the Living Tribunal, Eternity, and Chaos.
Yes, and like how the gods,
chaos, right?
How they use basically magic and logic or science or whatever, and it makes the universe go around. But I think when you do a big galactic thing like this sounds a lot more grounded. They're doing a thing where like a bunch of leaders are taken out and it plunges. Well, grounded in the Marvel universe in the sense that. They're grounded
in the 616.
Yeah, like the leader of the Shire is going to get killed, and the leader of the Badoons or whatever is getting killed, and it plunges everything into chaos.
And I just saw a story about apparently in X-Force they resurrected Lilandra. So
yeah, spoilers for X-Men Manhunt.
Yeah, she's around.
Which they I have to say that I'm impressed. They cranked out a 7-part. Crossover series, 8-part crossover. I think all we're waiting on now is the Omega issue.
Yeah,
like they cranked out X-Men Manhunt in like 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, they gotta finish it because a lot of these books are getting canceled. So.
Well, that's true. That is true. Well, and also there were a lot of them, so it was easy for them to get from 1 to 6, 1 to 7 pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think that to kind of address your question about is he going to become like a Claremont type figure where they're just like putting him off in a corner. I think if a book's got the Novas and Guardians of the Galaxy in it, like that's going to be a big deal. I don't think that's going to be Hickman off in his own playground where his own sandbox, and nobody's going to reference it. I think it's going to be a kind of a big important thing.
I think the Hulk's a little bigger of a deal than Nova and the.
Well, yes, the Hulks as well, but yeah. I mean, excuse me, Guardians of the Galaxy are more. I'm not saying amongst comics fans, but I'm telling you right now, the Guardians of the Galaxy have made Marvel way more money than the Hulk ever has.
I don't know, dude. Hulk was one of the stars of like all the Avengers movies and stuff. So I mean, like, hasn't had his own movie, sure, but I mean, regardless.
Yeah, right. The Hulk is one component of something, but the Guardians have $3 billion movies under their belt. So,
Brian, you're hardwired now.
I am. Hi.
You sound so much better. My God.
Yeah. So so all in DC kind of didn't reboot anything, but like establish a new status quo with the Watchtower and all these different things. And so we're like 3 or 4 issues into some of the books that launched out. And I don't know. I feel like they're kind of half baked, and they're books I was excited about, which is disappointing. Like the Question book, where Renee is supposed to be the like security officer for the ship.
Yeah, I've been reading that. I don't know.
It's like it's not a detective story. It's not a crime story. It's her and Kate Kane versus like the Eradicator. And like the cyborg Superman. Like. What?
Well, I'll say that she did do some detecting, at least for the first couple of issues.
She did.
And then once the villain was revealed, it was like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Like that could have easily been a Mr. Terrific's plot, right? Like he's got his fingers in everything. He knows what's going on. Like he's going to face, like, it's not a Renee Montoya Question story. And I find that irritating.
It was a Challenger story is what it was. I mean, like at the end of the day, like it was centered around one of the characters of the Challengers. You could have done it right there in that book too. And that Challengers book, while it's good, I don't know, it may have been stronger had she been with them telling that story there,
it's like one story split over 2 books, and I feel like you can feel the Christopher Cantwell weirdness butting up against the editorial, like this is where the story needs to go place, because the what was the third one? It's like there are these really cool concepts, and you see they go to the island, and it's like the time travel island that they have, whatever they call that, that dinosaur island or whatever it is, and like Swamp Thing has surrounded it as like a protective barrier to keep like people away. Like there's all these things that are like really cool, and then it's like, don't forget you got to get in that stuff that we need to move the all-in plot line along. And it's like, like it's just, and that book is like, it was originally I think a 6-issue series, and now I don't know if it's in the solicitations, but it's on my pre-orders. It's like 5 issues. Like it's been basically canceled already.
What book are we talking about? Are we talking about the
Challengers of the Unknown?
Yeah. Oh, Challengers
and Challengers.
Yeah. And so
I thought Challengers of the Unknown was supposed to be 10 originally.
Yeah, it's been cut. It got cut down. It was 6 for the first couple, and then after I did my pre-order, the other number changed from 6 to 5. So it was like 4. It was 3 of 6, and then 4 of 5, and then 5 of 5. Which is, usually the distributor knows more than the shops do. But it's just it's disappointing. Like it was an interesting idea, and it's kind of fallen apart. And then that Atom book is like so insanely wrong.
So it's a mess.
Yeah,
it's a bad book. And like Mike Perkins is a good artist, but is the wrong book for him. And like he could have done the Question book. Like he would have been a good fit for that. But instead he's doing like weird. It looks like Glenn Fabry drawing like a superhero book. Like it's just everything's crinkly.
Yes, kind of. It's gross looking. Right?
It's gross in every page. And this, I don't know. I feel like the story's spinning in circles, and
also, the story spinning in circles and stuff. This whole thing with like powers being mixed up and shifted. It feels like that was going to be a really big thing. And now it's such a small part of any of these stories, aside from that Atom book, which is a great idea. Like, I love the idea of the story, but the book is not working at all. And I almost feel like most of this is just going to go away. Right? We're not even going to solve it.
Yeah.
Well, we know that it's not going to go away anytime soon because they've announced a new Fire and Ice miniseries, and they're still going to have their swapped powers.
I mean, I guess
so.
You can fix it all right there, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's a sequel to the other book that was very good. I mean,
the Joanne Starr book. Yeah,
it's in that like Squirrel Girl kind of thing where it's like main continuity, but like kind of goofy, and it's cute, and it's actually got some funny jokes, and it's a good presentation.
Plus, Elrond is there, and anytime Elrond is in a book, I'm in.
Elrond's got some banger jokes in the first miniseries, like
he's so funny.
Killer. It's so funny, and like. And like, so having them switch is like interesting, like stuff like that. Like there's all those threads of like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? And then this, like Captain Atom is such a black hole of like, he sucks anything good out of wherever he is. He's just like he's the worst character because no one knows what to do with him. Cause it's like Martian Manhunter disease of like, oh, by the way, he's the last of his kind and he misses his planet, but he's trying to fit in. It's like, yeah, we've seen that story a million times. Right. And every Captain Atom is like, he was tortured and he's a man out of time. And where does he live? And the skin and like, oh my God, man. Like it's been the same thing for 70 years.
And he's also way too powerful to write a normal superhero story about. Yeah. And on any given chance that you see him in a book, there's a 50-50 chance that he's evil.
Yes.
Or crazy.
And I feel like I get excited every time I see like, oh, they're bringing Captain Atom back. They're finally doing something with Captain Atom. And then I read one issue of it and I go, never mind.
No, it's been 20 good years of not one good story. Like, the best one they did that Breach book that was like it's Bob Harris wrote it. And
yes, the Captain Atom of Earth 8.
Bob Harris and
Crisis.
Marcos Martin. It is a beautiful and interesting book, and it's probably the best Captain Atom book that
was there. Really cool.
So there's like these 3 books that I'm like reading that I don't know. I'm just feeling like it's not even fatigue. It's just like, like false starts. Like, what are we doing?
They built a space station for the Justice League and all the heroes are there and it's awesome. And in the pages of Justice League, it's like kick ass. Everything's fine. And in the pages of the question, they're like issue 1. This place is screwed. There's something evil. It's totally wrong and bad.
Right, and also the thing that's bad is not the thing that got introduced in Justice League Unlimited #1.
Right.
Like where they have like a mole. Like that's not even like I thought that would cross over, but it's like, oh no, it's Cyborg Superman.
No. It's a much more serious in the short term problem. Like a godlike supervillain ramp loose on the station.
Right. Yeah. With it's like two.
It's like a spy. Like you wish it was just a spy.
Some kid who's a spy. Yeah.
It's also
it's
a
weird.
Superman bad guy. So maybe we just call Superman and say, hey, take 10 seconds and deal with this, please. Right.
Yeah. Or like any of you've got everyone there, like, cartoon style, like, hey guys, I need some backup and just finish them off. But no, I don't know. It's a very, I was feeling really gung ho about it. And now I'm like, ugh. Like
I still like a lot of what's going on, but I agree with the tertiary books where it feels like
right.
We're gonna shake out this other plot lines that like we didn't solve in our last big crossover, right? And it's just like nothing's happening.
I like the all-in. I like the ongoing all-in books. I think that by and large they are very good. But I also don't really like. I'm able to kind of suspend my disbelief enough about like all the superheroes living together because I also am able to read a story about Spider-Man having trouble fighting the Rhino in a city where also Thor lives. So, but the side books that you mentioned had so much potential, and I really loved the ideas of them. But I agree that they've sort of been kind of nothings.
Yeah.
Which is too bad.
And the problem is not that I don't have a problem with the heroes living together. I love the idea. It just takes the stakes of what's going on in the question book and throws them to the wind. Like, who cares? Why is this even a problem? Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman all live here. Just call one of them, like fix it. I don't know.
Yeah, like instead of.
I mean,
like
but that goes
Cyborg
back to what I
Superman-
just said, Matt, about not about. You have to allow for stories where things can happen that you can't just have the godlike characters show up and fix.
I guess.
Yeah, but I think the godlike villain is the problem.
Yes.
Like if it was the Thinker or like some other B-level, even an A-level villain who's not super powered,
right?
Like Superman, like who's tech based, like they're like lower than Brainiac, but like one of those people that can get in there, like the calculator or someone, like somebody in there messing with the machines or controlling something, like like that's a good twisty mystery. But when it's like Eradicator and Cyborg Superman, it's like, what are you guys going to do?
It's irresponsible
non-superpowered people. Like,
right. It's irresponsible of the question to handle that. Right. That's not what you should be doing.
Hey, Batwoman's there. Come on.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry. Katie King.
Oh, and Animal Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a story where the question has to figure out how to survive and defeat the Cyborg Superman could be good. It's just that it's not that kind of story. Like they're not doing that.
Sure.
They're not doing they're not doing the thing.
Well, yeah, if this was a thing where it turns out that she outsmarted them, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, maybe, and also I don't think that writer is capable of doing that, but
Alex Segura,
he's fine.
He's fine.
I tried reading one of his novels that's about comics and I was like, pass. But, I don't know that he's got the chops to pull that off. Maybe by issue 6, I'll be surprised and praising it. But I agree about the ongoing books, and I still feel like most of them are very good.
Yeah.
My concern is that if they do these books that are kind of falling apart, people are going to stop reading them. And then they're not, because they're taking chances, and I want them to take chances, and I want them to do kind of like a question book is a bold choice. And then when you just kind of do something that doesn't really work, people are going to be like, oh, I read that last one. It wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Like I want them to, and same with like Challengers of the Unknown, which the idea of like pairing up Superman with a member and Batman with a member and Wonder Woman with, like, they're doing something kind of cool with that, where they're making them almost like they're like, it's like a task force, which I've always liked the idea of that. Like, you pick the member you need for the mission. And I think that's a cool thing. But if the book gets canceled in 5 because nobody cares, we're not going to see that again.
Right. Like the Batgirl book, I was so excited because I love this character and I'm like, great, we're giving her another shot. The art looks really good. And I've read 4 issues of it and I'm like, it's fine.
What?
It's okay.
I really like the Batgirl book.
I think it's fine.
I got caught up on, I think I read the first 2 and then lost track. So I read everything that's out, and I think it works as an arc, like a full story.
Yeah.
And
but this,
we'll see how
it's fine.
The arc ends, but because it starts slow. The first issues are like, I'm mad at you, and it's like, I don't care that you're mad at me, and they're just kind of standing and staring at each other like in a room, and which is just not what anybody wants. But it's sort of, they're getting there, and it's just taking some time. But the most recent issue I thought had some cool stuff with the cave stuff.
But it also so, and I'm not saying I know anything, but it also seems like the books that are great, Green Lantern, Green Arrow is fantastic. Batman, of course, we're not worried about. The Superman books are a lot of fun. They were already kind of there. Birds of Prey is another good example. They were already kind of where they were at before All In, and then we kind of all in, and we'll sort of all in everything now. Like, we'll do it like that. And the other stuff that they brought up, I don't know if it's the creative teams or it's just a little rushed or it's just half baked.
Consider this though, yes, the book is called Birds of Prey, but it's not really anything like the Birds of Prey that we're used to historically.
No.
Like, it's a team with a bunch of really weird kind of oddball characters that don't fit together.
No, for sure.
And that book is a success.
But it was a success before All In, is what I was saying. Like, they took
I don't
chance
think
there.
that they're. Well, I mean, yeah, I technically, I guess, but it's not that old. It's barely a year old. So yes, it's newer than it's older than All In, but only just.
Sure.
Metamorpho is great. Like I think that they're taking chances. Fire and Ice is getting another series. So
yeah,
so I think they're taking chances and rewarding like Fire and Ice wouldn't be getting another series if they didn't think it worked. And they're not all going to be hits.
Yeah, and I do like. I really like the Metamorpho.
I was very hopeful with the ones we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation because the stories the plots were so compelling, especially how they fumbled the ball on the Adam Project so badly.
It's a crazy bad book. It really is.
It's awful. Bad. It's legitimately terrible.
Yeah,
it's bad.
And there's an interesting idea there, but like they're also. I don't want anyone to go back and read anything if they haven't read it, because God, don't waste your time. But I did.
You don't need
and because I didn't remember like the first issue, and so I went and I did I think there's 3 out, and they're like even the plot of like we're using this machine to give people their powers back is like interesting, but they're barely doing it.
Yeah,
so
right.
Like, it's just like it's treading water with bad art. And a terrible character in it. Like, and the 2 Adams are fun. Like, I like that dynamic between the 2 of them where like one's kind of cautious. Like, it's very, buddy cop kind of thing. But I like both Ryan and Ray. Like, I like them. I'm glad one didn't cross the other one out. Like, they both get to exist.
Right.
But the book is just like 6 issues of treading water with like really bad art. And it just doesn't fit the story. Like it's right. I mean, he's a good artist. It's just like
I don't like Ryan and Ray's costumes. I'll tell you that much.
The costumes are
bad.
So the Adam Project has done exactly one great thing. Has had exactly one great moment, and that was when they gave Plastic Man back his powers, and then the girl from the Terrifics got her powers back because they had swapped and she was like a blob monster. She couldn't control it. Right. And he was so happy to finally be normal and reunited with his friend. And then Phantom Girl, or whatever her name was, immediately was like, oh, thank God. Now I can go home. I'll miss you, Eel. Bye. And it wasn't even in the Adam Project book. I think it was in Justice League. Or
it was Justice League.
So the Adam Project as a concept has done one good thing, and that's it.
And not in the book.
And not in the book, right. It has had one great moment, and that's that kind of really touching scene with Plastic Man, and it wasn't even in their book.
Well, yeah, and that's, a skill issue, right? That's Mark Waid versus... I don't know if because it's John Ridley and that Ryan Parrott, and the way I'm assuming that Ridley had a vague idea and Ryan Parrott is scripting it, like that's usually how these things work. And they just can't, I don't know. They like Mark Waid did the heart, cause that's who he is as a writer. Right. And then the other stuff it's so, like the time jumps in the Adam book. It's just, it's a huge failure. Like, I don't even want them to, I hope no one pre-orders the trade so they don't even waste the paper to get it on the, because it's not worth it. Don't even print, just straight to digital.
Okay.
It's that bad.
What do you think about JSA? Like, how do you feel this far in?
I think it's kind of, it's okay. I like the artist more than I think most people do. I think he's pretty good.
I like the artist. Yeah.
It's a little more cartoony than I would prefer, but we've been through so many varieties of artists on that book, from like Gary Frank doing his kind of thing. And like,
sure.
Dale Eaglesham, that kind of like, big muscle hero thing. So I like the art. I think the team thing, the 2 kind of separate teams is interesting, but I feel like the plots are kind of,
it's not working.
It's kind of not working.
It's not working.
I don't know.
And I
mean, the first arc isn't over yet, right?
It's not over yet.
I have to imagine that will sort of be nipped in the bud at the end of this first arc.
I mean, I guess, but
maybe that's just wishful thinking.
It's not. When you put Lemire on a book like this, I got really excited because I really like the guy, but it's just not working. It's not fun right now. And I want to love these characters. I want to love the team, but it just kind of feels like a slog at the moment, and not
it feels like the Stargirl TV show, which is so deadly boring. Like I still have it in my queue, and I've watched 3 of the season 3.
Yeah, I had to stop. And I was just like, no.
It's the longest hour of your life.
It's like,
so
what Stargirl was like, what if Riverdale was boring?
And everyone's bad. And it's just, so I feel like this is that kind of tone of like,
I loved it, but you're not wrong.
So Joe, boring. You know that I'm like, all I want is it to be.
I know.
And it isn't it. And I'm already like, I'm ignoring the Starman bullshit because fine. All right. They're never going to be what I want. And that's fine.
Like the shade is in it, but like it's anyway.
Everything is vaguely something I like, which is like it ends up to not much. But so I feel
like sometimes half a loaf is worse than no loaf at all.
No, you know what it is?
Right?
It's vegan ice cream.
That old saying.
It's vegan ice cream. That's what it is. It's like, chocolate vegan ice cream. You like chocolate, you like ice cream. Like, what's that third word? Don't worry about it. Taste it. And you go, well, this isn't quite chocolate ice cream. I mean,
it's cold and creamy and chocolate.
The idea is there.
Like what I want.
Yeah. Or like, oh man, try my vegan chocolate chip cookie. You know what a chocolate chip cookie is when you bite into it and you look at your friend who obviously forgot what chocolate chip cookies were because they haven't had a real one for so long. You go, oh, and that's kind of how I feel about this JSA, where it's just, I'm not saying like, just go back and do it the old way. Do something new and different. I kind of hoped Lemire was going to bring more of his, I can't say the name of the Dark Horse book that he did, Black Hammer kind of feel to it, where it'd be a little more sinister maybe and feel a little creepier and do something with these characters. But it just kind of feels like he's a generic superhero book in the DC starring these characters.
So I got I was gifted the JSA compendium for Christmas, which is like the beginning of the Robinson John stuff, with David Goyer writing so many words. And it is a massive book, and I really enjoy, like, I love the characters and I love that team, but man, it's a slog. It's some of the stuff is so dry and so kind of boring, but it doesn't have that like the current stuff for some reason has this like edge of like torture porn to it, where it's like things have to be like, when they're bad, they got to be really bad.
Right.
And like there's like this grimness that I don't mind the dark story, because the other ones were kind of dark and a lot of people die and a lot of things happen and worlds crashing, but there's kind of like this dread that's kind of in the background, and where don't get too comfortable because things aren't going to work out. And I don't want that every month. Like I don't think it fits with those people. Now I haven't read most of the JSA history because I'm
fine with it for
in my 40s, but
I'm fine with it for like a storyline, like you're saying. But when that's the only note to the story, then I'm like,
yeah, it just always feels that way. Like, oh, it's so like, I don't know. There's an issue in that first one from the 2000s of JSA where it's like sort of the Injustice Gang versus
Wildcat.
Yeah, right. And he's there
alone in the brownstone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's really bad for him, but it's like a great showcase issue, and he's like,
it's a great issue.
It's amazing.
It's crazy fun. Like it's the art is great, and like he just gets to show off, and like the narration's good. Like everything really works. And now I feel like it would be someone pummeling him. Like it would just be continuous punching and like, ugh, like there's
so like, we could be like, look what they did to the old man. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Thank you. So let me ask you this. And Hawkman is another character that I truly, truly, truly love. And I think it is for one, like the Jeff Johns and Jimmy Palmiotti stuff only, because any other time Hawkman shows up, I feel like I'm having the same reaction that I have to Captain Atom, where I'm super excited, like, oh, kick ass, Hawkman. They're going to do something with Hawkman.
We really liked the Robert Venditti one as well.
Yeah, the Venditti one was good. No, you're right.
Yeah. But no, you're right. Like, when he's not written by a writer that has a clear vision and plan.
He sucks so bad.
Like if he's just there as a supporting character, I guess he was such an important part of the Jeff Johns JSA, and like multiple stories, multi-part stories revolved around him.
Yeah, big time.
Because there was the Return of Hawkman, and then there was the Black, what was the name of that storyline? Black Rain. Yeah. And then didn't Black Rain have a sequel?
Black Vengeance.
Black Vengeance. Yeah. And and then there was the ongoing, of course, which, the Hawkman ongoing, which then just got deep into the character. But those stories had something to say about Hawkman. Having him just kind of show up and swing at things with his mallet is boring.
It's not just boring. It's that, or it's, oh, Hawkgirl doesn't like me anymore.
I mean, to be fair, that was a key part of his previous characterization also.
I mean, I guess, but I'm just done with it. And it's creepy. It's also creepy. Like, we're meant to be together. It's like Frankenstein in the Creature Commando. It's like, dude, you are an abusive murderer rapist. You need to understand why she does not love you. But he's not that bad.
I feel like,
but he is.
I feel like they closed the. I feel like they pretty definitively closed the door on that, or at least they said They made a definitive statement about that already. Kind of like how the the recent Cap movie was relitigating plot lines that were resolved in the show. They've already done the thing where Kendra and Carter came to terms with the fact that their destiny has been averted, right? The constant resurrections, the curse, it's broken.
Right. They're separate. Now they're separate. Totally separate people.
Yeah, and so why are we going back to this thing where he's pining over her?
I don't need it. I don't need a sad
and being super weird about it.
I don't need it at all. And I don't know. That's with that said, I don't know what I do need from Hawkman other than a good story and maybe a writer that can handle it. But I just feel like Lemire he's got a collection of toys and he's just kind of clinking them together right now.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. That's a good way to put it. As the only person as excited as Brian for the JSA to come back, I am sort of not loving the new book. Yes. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's terrible.
No. It's
not what I want out of a JSA book.
It's fine. It's ending up the last thing that I read in that pile when it comes out that way.
It's just not what I was looking for in a story about these characters.
Yeah.
And also I think some of the choice, look, I'm all for representation. I'm all for bringing the character back from the dead and giving her something to do. But Beth Chapel is not nearly as interesting as that guy that they invented to be Dr. Midnight in the 2000s.
No, not at all.
That dated Black Canary.
No.
He is so much more interesting than Beth Chapel is. There's a reason Beth Chapel died in the 90s. Nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've made a case for her existing. Bring back fine. I'm fine with what is her name?
The Wildcat one.
Yeah. I'm fine with her. I think that she's great, and I know that Ted is out there as well, and so it's not an issue. But the Dr. Midnight that we had that everybody kind of loved is just gone.
Yolanda
and
Montez.
it bugs me. Yolanda. Yes,
yeah.
Thank
Yolanda.
you, Yolanda.
Yeah, I'm fine with her. And
I kept wanting to call her Montoya.
She's been around for a long time. Yeah, I don't give a shit about the new Dr. Midnight. And I don't know. I want that book to be
but both of these characters, and I do think it's interesting. And I think this was Jeff Johns. Was it Jeff Johns that set it up? He brought them both back as a result of Dr. Manhattan whateverness. But they know that they died. They realize that they died and that there's something weird about why they're back. And I don't really think that they've done anything with that. And if you want me to care, then do something with that.
Agreed. And maybe Lemire's just focusing all his work on Absolute Flash, and that book's awesome. It was really good.
God, it was so good.
Yeah,
you guys, it was so good.
Again, the Absolute stuff just seems to be. It seems like All In is pretending to take chances, and still playing it kind of safe, whereas Absolute is taking those chances, and all that shit is selling like gangbusters.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't think that All In is pretending. I think that the Absolute line, it's not really taking a chance when the mandate of the line is to be different. I don't think they view it as a chance to say, oh, Wonder Woman's got one arm.
Well, it's taking a different kind of chance, I suppose.
I mean, I guess, or it's like Batman is a beefy bodybuilder and he stabs people with knives that shoot out of his face. Like, did you read Absolute Batman this week? It had one of the coolest, funniest,
I have not read the latest
panels
one.
I have ever seen.
I have not read the latest one. Did anyone else read it?
Oh my God, it's magical. Yeah. It's magical.
Some of the stuff it was like, okay, they're not that they're having too much fun, but it's like we're getting in the dangerous area of like the absurdity of it might go too far. Like, yeah, you gotta swerve back in the lane a little bit. We're getting a little goofy, and you got to take it works because it's so the first couple of issues work because they're so sincere in his like insanity, and if they go like it's like almost Looney Tunes goofy, like it's very silly, goofy, graphic, and it was funny, but I'm like, ugh.
I think Snyder was able to pull it back a little bit from like the completely ridiculous shaped charges making a bat face on the building kind of thing, and then
no problem with it.
Alfred saying Batman AF. Like I think we've kind of dialed it back just a teeny little bit.
I had no problem.
But not a lot. They haven't dialed it back a lot.
No, they're still having a ton of fun with that book.
But Absolute, the Absolute line, like the point of that line is to show you how the core of the characters shines through when almost everything about them is different.
Yeah.
And in that regard, I think it's succeeding because all of the books that have come out so far, Absolute Superman went from a book that was like, okay, to being outstanding, stellar.
It's gotten so good.
The last issue of the most recent issue of Absolute Superman was like an incredible punch in the gut in a great way. And we still don't know how it's going to resolve because the arc's not over. Wonder Woman, of course, is like literally it's probably the best book I think DC puts out. Absolute Flash had a killer debut. Like all of these books are firing on all cylinders for the most part. Snyder is getting a little cute. I will agree.
I don't care.
Sometimes he pushes it a little too far.
I'm having too much fun with it. What do you think about the regular Flash book? Is anyone still reading it?
I have not read it in many months.
It's goofy. It's fine. I want, as long as it's Wally and his family, I don't care. It's fine. Please keep printing it. It's I've grown up. The costume works for me now. The black. Yeah. I don't need world.
It's still
ending things every issue.
It's still Cy Spurrier, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a much more Flash friendly artist than Mike Deodato.
Yeah, I fell off. I couldn't.
Which is nice.
I couldn't take any more Mike Deodato.
Yeah, he did the first arc, and then Ramon Perez,
yeah,
who works with Chip Zdarsky on stuff. He did the second arc, and then I think the guy that was his inker or did some of the pages, he's the regular guy now. Some other guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what his name is, but he's it's fine. Like it's not for everybody, but it's for me, and so I sat through so much Barry Allen for so long that I'm happy to Wally and the kids work well, and Linda, and like it's got all the different parts, and in the newer arc, Wally is both on a family vacation and in the Watchtower because he figured out how to be in two places at once, and then he gets caught because he wasn't supposed to. That's like it's very like kind of sitcom-y, and that, but without being like, wahaha goofy. So you know, it'll get canceled. I keep looking every month, like, is this the last one? But
yeah,
I'm sure it's on a short leash.
Speaking of plot threads that went away, Barry Allen, didn't he like run into the Speed Force or the universe or something to go solve something or figure out where Darkseid was, and then like that was the last we heard of that?
Supposedly he's out there solving the mysteries of something.
Yeah,
I hope he takes another 20 years before he comes back.
Yeah. I don't really need Barry is alive. Great, fine. I don't want him anywhere near my main Flash book. No.
Yeah, I don't care about no Barry Allen. Nah. All right, it's 12:03. I got to get out of here. Good gang hang. We talked comic books the whole time. That was awesome.
I'm so proud of us.
That was awesome.
Great job, guys. I mean, yeah, only 3 people talked, but still.
Fair enough. But next week, let's catch up on Daredevil, stuff like that, and discuss. I think we're all thrilled that John Barenthal is back. God, that guy's great. He's so good. He's so good.
The last issue,
he chewed up scenery.
Oh,
this week's Daredevil was incredible, and like it's like, without veering into spoilers, it's still the thing where it's just like, he's not in the costume yet. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
But it's so compelling that you don't really care. Like, I don't anyway. I was just so mesmerized. It's so good.
It's a good enough show that they're pulling it off, but I need him back in the goddamn costume.
Well, I mean, I think that after this
back
one,
I
think the signs are pointing that after this one, it's gonna be costume time. So,
all right, go about your weekend.
All right, that's for next week. I do want to say, prepare for spoilers about Daredevil Born Again. We will try not to spoil. I think it's fair to say we'll try not to spoil the most recent episode.
Let's just get into it. And if you don't
right?
want to, let's just get into it. And if you guys don't want to talk about it or hear it, well, then wait until next week. It's all good because we need to talk about it. Let's just get into it.
Okay. All right. Well, Matt just shot down the thing that I said. So prepare for spoilers.
Yeah. Let's get into it. All right. I got to get out of here. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you guys next week. This is the Two-Headed Nerd.
Bye, guys.